And I want to move forward on where we agree and where this technology should go. But first, I do think it's important to hear a little bit from you about why you think we are where we are in this debate. This room of highly educated, very informed people have very different, even polarizing views in this room. How did we get to this place where it's an emotional debate, it's polarized? I mean, if you look on Twitter, which I actually track this a lot because of the Senate bill, which we'll hopefully get to, if you just type GMO into Twitter, you are either, almost without exception, going to get champions of biotech that are just slamming people who don't understand it as just Luddites and, you know, anti-science. And then you have critics who think it, I mean, truly, it is one or the other. Critics who just think it's evil. And there's very little middle ground. How did we get to this place if you know, you all have very different backgrounds, come at this from different places, that you don't necessarily see that the science underpinning this is scary or causes food safety problems? How did we get here? Why are we in a place where more than half the country thinks there are food safety concerns?
I think there's sort of three components to it. One is that as a general public, I mean, we have actually had experiences where things have gone wrong. I grew up in the South, and in the 30s or so, there was a concern about erosion. And USDA and others had this great idea of introducing this plant that would stabilize the hillsides. Well, that's kudzu. So that's caused lots and lots of problems, and we know we have invasive species issues. So as a public, we're aware that things can go really wrong when you introduce a new novel organism, life form, into a place where it hasn't been before. So we actually have some reason to think about this, some actual experience. The second thing is that the regulatory approaches that we have to managing this really haven't caught up with the science. So we have two agencies that are involved in GMOs. One is the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA. The other is the Food and Drug Administration. And imagine the confusion or the challenge in the Food and Drug Administration when they're approving all kinds of drugs that come from GMOs, and then they're presented with something like genetically modified salmon. Well, what do they call the gene that they're inserting into the salmon? It's classified by FDA as a veterinary drug. Well, that probably is a little outdated way of looking at it. So I think there's...
It took 20 years.
It took
20 years to move through that.
Yeah. And then the third is there's a great article I can recommend to you guys. It was in Fortune magazine about 2 weeks ago on Monsanto. And I think it's, you know, there is one of the things that the article points out is confidence in the technology blinded folks and folks at Monsanto too to the need to really be very transparent and publicly defend and talk about this technology. And I think sort of overconfidence in the science is another reason why we kind of let this issue get out of control.
Yeah, Rob, I'm curious.